Hello everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and today I have a layout for Lottie Loves Paper using the very beautiful Storyteller collection by Coco Vanilla Studio. So I really wanted to use this beautiful heart background paper because it's gorgeous. So I love the blue colour and it's then got multicoloured hearts all over it. So I decided to use that as a big feature on my layout. So using it as a background, possibly a little bit too much for me, but what I've decided to do is cut it right down. So I think I've made it like 10 inches square, distress the edges, and then I've folded over the corner. So, and then that's going to be placed centrally in the middle of my white cardstock background. So that's just going to go there, and then I'm going to fold that piece down like that. So that gives me plenty of white space on the layout, that as in a big border around the edges and that big section in the top as well. And I could place my photos there or something. That's what I was originally planning, was to put my photo there. But actually my photos ended up moving slightly over to the right of the page. And then I ended up filling up that top section with something else. So you'll see how that comes along. Yeah, so I love this kind of design. I've done this type of layout before. I specifically wanted to use this Bramble Fox Persepxtive title that says smile because even though she's broken her arm in this photo, she's still smiling. She's always smiling, so that's very nice. So I just wanted to document that even in this hard time, which was for her because she missed out on, well, she didn't miss out, but she had to have various adaptations made for her at school, so she wasn't allowed out at lunchtime for 6 weeks. She had to wear a sling. She wasn't in a cast, you see, because the break was really high up near her shoulder. It wasn't a break, it was a fracture. But because of that, because it couldn't be in a cast, it wasn't protected, so therefore school were really worried about keeping it safe and unharmed, and basically she wasn't allowed to be bumped into, so she had to have lunch on her own or with a friend, so she didn't have to go into the lunch hall, she wasn't allowed outside, she wasn't allowed to do PE, then she was basically going on her residential trip and wasn't allowed to do half the stuff or half the activities that were there, but she went perfectly happily with a smile on her face. She had to have somebody write her SATs exams for her, so it was quite a lot of, and she had to sleep sitting up for like 3 weeks, which she was not happy about. So there was a number of things that she found really tough, but yet always got a big smile on her face, and generally made the best out of a bad situation. So there we go. That's why I wanted to use the word smile. So I have fussy cut some of the flowers from that lovely flower sheet, and I've also gone crazy with the Floral Ephemera because it's beautiful. There's also, do you know what? The thing I really like about the Floral Ephemera is that most of the flowers in there are single colours. So apart from the leaves, there's a flower and it's one colour, rather than bunches of lots of different coloured flowers. So when I wanted to have different coloured flowers, then I could go to the fussy cut flowers, but the actual ephemera itself mostly was single flowers, which works really well if you're trying to do kind of like colour on colour or something like that. But on this one, I didn't want to do colour on colour, so I could have used multicoloured flowers here, it would have been fine. But I just thought I'd mention that because I forgot to mention that in my previous video. Okay, so I've made this big kind of bunch of flowers at the very top of the layout, and then I've got my 2 photos, and the reason I ended up with this arrangement on the layout is because I wanted the word smile to be on the yellow. It would have looked best on the white or the yellow. It did not look good, or would not have shown up properly on the heart background. I very much wanted to make sure that it showed up, because it's really annoying, isn't it, when you use those lovely titles and you can't really read them because the pattern behind them doesn't work. So sometimes I would mount them onto white and cut them out, but most of the time I would try to make sure they are on a plain-ish solid black background. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got most of my embellishments and things in place now. I've used a lot of the ephemera. I've used some chipboard. I've used wooden buttons. I've got loads of ephemera at the top for the flowers, and what I wanted to do now is add journaling. Now I did consider writing all the way around the edge of the big blue piece in the middle, but instead of doing that, I decided to use the woodgrain paper from the 6x8 paper stack, cut it into narrow strips. They're 1/2 inches, and then write onto those, because I was able to fit 2 or 3 lines of journaling on each one. I do have quite small writing. And distress the edges of all of those, and then get them stuck over on the right hand side. And actually it served really well to link the photos with the cluster at the bottom. So I just by having those strips there, bringing them all the way down. Well, they don't go all the way down, they don't touch the little bits of ephemera at the bottom, but they certainly bring it a lot closer together. And then I add some sequins, and they do connect up those 2 pieces completely. So it's just good to have, you know, all the elements connected in some way or linked together in some way. So that worked for me. I was quite happy with how that worked out. That definitely served a good purpose. So I have a slight problem with my my fold over triangle there. You can see is that it won't stay stuck. Now I always have that problem with this type of layout, and normally I would sew it on a sewing machine, but I was a bit too late to have done that now, because I've done everything and the big smile was already stuck in place, and I wouldn't be able to get my sewing machine foot over that and sew neatly. The other thing I would use is a brad, but I'm away on holiday making this layout and I didn't have any brads with me. So that meant I had to revert to hand sewing, which I haven't done for a while actually. So I just pierced about 10 holes, 12 holes, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 holes, 2 rows of 6, and then I did large cross stitches through, and that gives me 5 stitches. Obviously I normally would do them in bunches of 3 or 5 or 7, because odd numbers are best. It's because they have a focal point, central point. Yeah, so there we go. That has then definitely done the job and has held down my my triangle piece there without it popping up. Just thought I'd add a border. Again, should have done this on the sewing machine, but too late at this point. Should have done that when I actually stuck it down. But these things are, you know, it's not too helpful to have afterthoughts, is it? But at least there's another solution. I just used the black pen and gave it a border. And now I'm going to finish off with a whole load of white splatters all over those beautiful flowers, and a few down on the right hand side and a few down on the ephemera at the bottom there. So yeah, all complete pretty much, I think. Oh, I'm going to add some sequins. I haven't done that yet. I mentioned that earlier, but I haven't actually added them yet. Of course, I had to wait for my paint to dry. Very annoying that I had forgotten to do that first. Honestly, I should have learned by now that the last thing you do is the paint. I should always make sure I do my journaling and do my sequins before I do the paint. Right, okay, now I am finished. There we go, all done. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed seeing this layout come together. I really enjoyed making it. I love the paper, I love the ephemera, I love the fact that I finally told this story. This happened in April this year, so there we go. Thank you very much for joining me. That was Nikki Rowland for Lottie Loves Paper using the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Storyteller collection.